Okay, sick. Awesome. We're live. All right, guys. Hello. Welcome back for another episode of Parkour with Coach FreeLove. It's an additional installment of Firestorm at Home. We're going to get it started by making sure that we've cleared out our living room and given ourselves quite a lot of space. I've promised it on previous episodes. We talked about shoulder rolls a little bit. Said I was going to do an advanced shoulder roll episode, episode 10. Here we are. It is our advanced shoulder roll episode. So again, make sure that you've got plenty of space. You're going to need at least you plus your arm's reach worth of space on the floor. You'll probably need about your width of like a wingspan, as far as that goes wide. So what that really means is I should have this much space here from fingertips to toe tips, and that whole space should be as wide as I can reach. That's big space. So if you guys have siblings and you're using that space, take turns. We are going to be going over our shoulder roll, specifically the difference between our shoulder roll and our forward roll to start. And then following up after that, we are going to be doing our shoulder rolls side to side, as well as our backwards shoulder rolls. So a lot of rolls today. So I hope that you guys are ready for an ab-centric workout. Haha. All right, so strong open space. That was enough time for you to get open, available space for yourselves in your home. I'm gonna get into my mobility and roll it down and across, putting our head and our neck, just like we've done in every episode before. Keep that posture strong. Nice job. All right, guys, we're gonna stop with our head and neck and start with our shoulders. Big shrug forward. Oh, and I will tell you right now, my arms are pretty warm from the previous stream that we did earlier today. If you guys did not catch it, we did the first episode of our one of our new streams. That was strength and conditioning, and it was very much arms and chest. So, oof, that one was a good one. The parkour class that we're going to be doing today, guys, is going to switch direction. It's going to be a little bit more of, again, like an abs class. And then we have later on this evening a tricking class from 6 to 7. And that one is going to be very much focusing on the legs. So we are doing a full body workout today if you guys are catching us for all three streams. Nice. Good, go ahead and stop with the shoulder shrugs. We're gonna put our arms out into a T pose, and we're gonna do a small forward circle. Keep your hand and your elbow at the height of your shoulder. And let's go backwards now. Just a few. And we're gonna give ourselves a couple of hugs. Crossing our arms, trying not to let them drop down too low. Try and keep them up if we can, or as best as we can. And as we do these arm swings, again, alternate, right? One hand over the top, then switch, go opposite hand over the top. Nice. Let's go ahead and stop there. We're gonna go for our wrists. We're going to interlock or interlace our fingers, squeeze our hands nice and tight, and roll them out. Now, please make sure that you guys keep breathing. Obviously, you need to breathe, but the way that I would suggest that you guys do so is switch your direction and breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. We've used that in all of our previous episodes. I want you guys to make sure that you keep a mindful focus on that while we do these classes together. Nice. All right, guys, go ahead and shake them out. Give it a break there. We are going to move down into our torso just a little bit. So widen that stance. Keep yourselves planted. Don't let your feet slide or slip apart. We are going to do our torso twist. We're going to twist all the way over and all the way around as far as we can, getting to the max of our twist. I'm going to turn with my head and do so. Now, we are not going to do that extended hold. We're going to get to that max and untwist and twist back on the opposite side. You guys can see I'm squeezing as I get there, flexing, squeezing, pulling, twisting, adding as much of my body to that twist as possible. All right, good. We're going to add a little bit of momentum now. So twist a slightly faster rate and add the arms into that as a twist and pull as you get to the end of that. All right, go on ahead and give that a stop there. We're going to move even further down the torso into our hips. Just go on ahead and roll those hips out. Try and isolate as much of the upper spine as possible. Nice. Tilting the pelvis in every direction as you roll those hips out. Let's go the opposite direction now. Don't forget to keep breathing. All right, go ahead and stop there. Bring your feet and your knees together. We're going to start with a couple of knee circles. So get into a nice squat. Keep your balance, keep yourself centered, and roll those knees around. It helps you, if you can, visualize from where you're at. You can even see it. Literally look down and watch your knees move forward in front of your toes, just like that. And then they come back behind your toes as you straighten out a little bit in the back of your circle. Let's go the opposite direction as well. Awesome. Go ahead and stand up nice and tall. Squeeze through the glutes, squeeze and lift your heels up off the ground. Keep those legs super tightly pinched together. And we're going to do just a few calf raises. Raising or lifting our heels up off the ground. And again, being mindful of our breathing. Nice. Set your feet back down to flat. Widen them out just a little bit about your shoulders width. And we're slowly going to roll our big toe up off the ground and roll onto the blade of our foot. If your feet are too wide, you'll find that this is very challenging to do. So again, your feet shouldn't be too much more than your shoulder width apart. We're going to roll that big toe up and then put it back down. Roll it up and put it back down. Working out some of those muscles in the very bottom of the foot. I want you guys to keep this going, and you guys can either watch my feet or mimic the pattern with my hands, imagining that your thumb is your big toe, and then it's going to get pressed down, and then it's going to get lifted up, and we're going to continue to follow that pattern. Again, using a lot of those little muscles in the foot to turn and lift that foot up. Let's hold it up. Hold the big toe up off the ground. Pinky toe pressed into the floor. Hold it. We're on our blade. And set it down nice and flat. Good. Now we're going to go into that small lunge like we normally do. And washing machine style, do our ankle rolls. So this means a few circles this way, a few circles the other way. Let's go back and forth lightly with a few circles in each direction before then we switch to our opposite foot. Make sure that, again, we are breathing that whole time. I know I'm constantly reminding you guys, and I think it's because very few of us follow that breathing. We think about it very little, and in our reality, we should think about it a lot. You know, we're going to be using that inhale and exhale for the lift sort of technique. We use that very often. We may actually end up using that later on today. So if you guys are all done with your mobility, we all loosened up, we're going to get started with a nice light jog for just a few minutes, doing our blood pumpers, doing our warm-up for just a few minutes. So jog in place. And again, if you guys don't have a U-sized amount of space, which I know sounds weird, that's because we each are differently sized, and this movement will take up a different amount of room for each of us. But if you don't have a U-sized amount of space, this will be a very tough class. So please be very careful. You don't want anything glass or sharp wood or metal around. It's a roll class. We're going to be working our abs, doing a few sit-ups, crunches, and variations of that, as well as a few things for our quads, hamstrings, and glutes to make sure our legs are able to stay in when we do all of our rolls. So, stop the jog. We're going to go on ahead and get down nice and low. We're going to do just a few push-up shrugs. So if you guys can shrug like you did in our mobility, then imagine holding your arms out like a zombie and reaching forward and shrugging backward like that. We're going to go into our push-up and do that just a few times. So you get nice and low, and we're going to do a few push-up shrugs together. So push-up position, up and hold, pushing strong away from the floor, dropping through the chest, shrugging down, and then hollowing out away from it again. Shrugging, almost like we're letting our shoulder blades pinch. So falling through to the pinch, and then pushing up out of that into a hollow. Good. Go on ahead and push yourself into a downward facing dog, where from here, we're going to do just a few more shrugs. So the same way that we would shrug like we did before, we're shrugging the floor away. So in that downward dog, shrug, good, and go on ahead and give that one a rest for just a moment. We are going to sit into our pigeon stretch position. So what that means is now we're sitting across with one leg across our body, and one leg straight back behind it. So I'm here, similar to a lunge, right? But now I'm going to lay this front leg sideways, lay it down, and cross my body. And I'm going to do just a few lifts here by lifting my body weight up, trying not to use my hands as best as possible. Doing just a few of these pigeon lifts so that I can use my quad, a little of my hamstring, quite a lot actually of my glute to lift. I also have to keep my back squeezed nice and tight to keep this going. I'm using my hands a little bit here or there, stabilize. It'll hold some of that weight because it can be kind of intense. But we're going to stop that there and sit down, roll over and switch. I like to go into it as if I was in a butterfly, and then I put one leg out sideways, and now I'm laying down sideways. Now I can just kind of roll my hip over towards my foot, and then from this position, oh yeah, nice solid lift. And again, hands are there to help as we need them. If you can, keep the lifts going. Now if you can, if you're more flexible, like Coach Summer in one of her previous Acroflex episodes, she was able to put her foot up and out, across like this, and hold herself down. And I cannot even turn my body over. So I am slowly putting myself into the furthest point that I can get to there. So for me, it's currently in pretty close, like there. And now I'm doing my lifts. Just a few more lifts. And stop. Good. Take a seat in a butterfly position. Pull them in nice and tight. Squeeze them. Squeeze those feet. Flap those butterfly wings out just a little bit. We're going to be getting used to this tight and condensed tuck position. It's going to be one of our next movements that we do as far as our warm-ups goes before we really get into all of our skills. One of the last bits of it is going to be a candlestick hike. So if you guys have not got some cushion under you, now is a good chance to go get some. I would highly recommend a blanket, or a thick one rather, not just like a thin little sheet. Even if you are on carpet for today's episode, you might want to get that blanket or something like that to be mindful of your space, lay it out and keep your space organized and slightly padded as well. Now, especially if you are on hard floor or tile floor, you should probably be doing that, or move into a different part of the home. We're going to go into that candlestick position, and so that should have been enough time for you to get your padding. I'm on my padding. I'm going to lay flat on my back. I'm going to point my legs up like a pike, like this, up over my head, and I can use my hands to help me, just like that. I'm going to point my toes as close to the floor as possible, and then I'm going to lift my heels up and extend my body into a straight line, and then come back to that fold. I'm going to do just a few of these. Good, and pike, and roll. Good, and so we should be adequately prepared for all the rolls that we're going to do today. Get used to that position. If that position that we were just doing, that candlestick pike position, that's uncomfortable for you, this is going to be a tough one, honestly. Some of the skills that we have to do are going to be a bit more of a challenge, so guys, I'm going to get a quick sip of water and make sure my back is ready for all the cool fun tucks and rolls. Since we're at home, one of these times I'm going to have to do a costume swap.
Oh my
Suddenly
gosh.
come back in the new costume.
No.
New everything. All right, hey, we're back. It's a good water break. I'm well hydrated, feeling nice about myself. I've been taking good time to make sure that I'm mobilized and warmed up appropriately so that we can go over really quickly our forward roll and shoulder roll recap. We've already talked about shoulder rolls. I'm not going to get too much into the nitty gritty. Shoulder rolls, essentially, we go from one shoulder to the opposite hip when we roll on the floor. It looks like this. I start in a slight lunge where I'm staggered. My body has got a slight turn to it. My upper torso has a slight turn to it. This allows me to line my shoulder and my hip up. When I squat down and reach my hands off to the side, and I roll forward through that. Wow, nice. And so, like I said, you're gonna need about a U-sized space. Your roll, at the very least, takes up you plus your hands. At the very least. So, I'm gonna do our shoulder roll one more time. Loading from shoulder to opposite hip. I start in this lunge, grab the floor, set that shoulder on the floor, tuck my head off to the side and look back through my armpit. We have a whole tutorial on it. It's a great thing you guys should watch. Here's our shoulder roll. Nice. Okay. And our forward roll. The difference being that now I'll be rolling down my spine. I'm actually exposing my spine to every part of the floor during every part of the roll. If I'm over here doing a forward roll, I'm no longer in a stagger. My feet are together. My hips are no longer twisted. My hips are square. Excuse me. Hips are square. My chest, again, is also no longer twisted, but instead it is squared and forward. I am now putting my hands flat on the ground, almost like I'm in a pike. And then I will curl my head in, chin to chest, and roll, like so. So even your forward roll takes up quite a lot of space. That's because you're exposing all of this to the ground. Even though you've tucked your legs in, you're reaching out this length that would have otherwise been your legs. And the last little bit is that there's that little gap there sometimes between our heels and our butt. We're really going to work to close that gap too. So that's our forward roll and our shoulder roll. That's your recap. We had a whole episode on those. We're going to do a few workouts that are going to help with those real quick. Take a seat. We're going to do just a few floating crunches. So go into a hollow position, or a hollow tuck, or a hollow crunch. There's a lot of names for this. But we're going to go into this floating crunch position, and we're going to just pump our knees in to our chest. Just like that. Now try not to let your feet drop and hit the floor. Try not to fall back. Try and keep your body round, keep your arms up. I have a lot of students that like to pretend this is like a basket, or bringing your knees up and through the hoop, or this basket. Just a few more crunches. We're working on those crunches because those rolls, these are a foundation workout for those rolls. You need to be able to bring your body into a tuck of its own accord. If you can't, that becomes a very challenging thing to do the roll, and you can't get your body in here on its own. It means that your body is kind of an obstacle for you to complete this action. So be careful, make sure that you've got your crunches. That and one other workout. We call these horse kicks. There's probably a lot of different names for them, but we're going to go into a table position. So just like this, I've got my shoulders over my hands, and I've got my knees and my shins and my feet pressed flat into the ground, just like so. I'm going to practice now keeping my heel to my butt, just like I would need to for any and every single type of roll ever. You're going to need to get that muscle in. So I'm going to start by pulling that heel up and in. Then I'm going to keep that squeeze super tight, pull my knee into my chest, and push my knee out and back to level with my spine. Then I'll come back and repeat that action on my opposite side, just like that. Whew. Into the chest, then out to level, and then come back and lift, in, back, and set it down, and lift, in, back, and set it down, and lift, in, back, and set it down, and lift, in, and back, and set it down. Whew. All right, so those two workouts between your crunches and what I like to refer to as my alternating horse kicks, those two super, super helpful for all the muscle groups that you're gonna need to do your rolls. There's a few other workouts we're gonna do together. But that's your recap of your forward roll and your shoulder roll. We're gonna go into our shoulder roll sideways, or a side to side shoulder roll. Now, there is a lot of different ways that people do this. The way that we specifically prefer to do so is very much like a normal shoulder roll. We go from shoulder to opposite hip. However, our body's stance is slightly different. I'm going to come over here and demonstrate a sideways shoulder roll versus a normal like a forward shoulder roll. So, in my previous demonstrations, I have had my feet pointed forward, just like this. So when I do my shoulder roll, I'm able to come out of it with my feet still pointed forwards and my hips squared, sort of tilted, but still mostly prepared to go forward. So I'm coming out of it this way, going forward, right? I know a bit of that can be challenging to see, but a side-to-side shoulder roll, you guys can see I'm not going to start that same way. Instead, I'm going to be starting sideways. Now, practically, I almost never just start sideways. This is usually like if I've finished a side flip, or I've come out of something, or I've fallen and I'm slightly ajar. This means I'm not going straight in how I was planning to. So, we're going to start like we would for a normal shoulder roll. One of the things that I want you to do then is swing your heels sideways to the back side of you and push your hip out towards the direction of the space under your hands. So I'm here like I would be for a normal shoulder roll. Now I'm going to swing my heels and push my hip, but I'm not really moving the rest of my upper body. And now I'm pretty primed for my sideways shoulder roll. Now I know knees don't quite bend sideways, but what we can do is get into this nice low, almost pistol squat where we're squatting on one side over, reaching and grabbing the floor. Now I'm keeping my left arm, right? I'm rolling on my right shoulder, keeping my left arm slightly in front of me so that as I push my hip over my head, I can keep balance on the other end of the movement. I'm going to demonstrate one for you nice and slow now. And so you guys can see I'm coming up and out of that movement significantly more sideways. I'll do one for you with my back towards you, where you guys can see the finishing of the action. You can see my heels and how I'm actually swung. So here I am to go normal, like a shoulder roll. I'm going to keep the upper torso as tight as I can in my reach. Swing my hips. And now I'm ready, keeping the twist from upper body to lower body. I'm going to pistol squat forward and in, reach out, curl. And when I curl fairly sideways to finish square. Okay, I know, like I said, it's a big movement. We take up a lot of space. But there is a huge difference between me rolling like this and me landing here and being able to still lead my body into that roll sideways. Now, one other thing to address. There are many types of sideways shoulder roll. I'm talking about one that we are specifically still going from shoulder to hip on. There's several variations rather, where you're rolling and specifically and only rolling from shoulder to shoulder. So, if I was to go into a nice low squat and reach my hands out and over, stay in my curl and roll across the tops of my shoulder blades, I have moved fairly sideways, and for low impact movements that can be good and it will work out well, but it does expose the base of your skull to the ground quite a lot, and so it can be kind of dangerous. So we do see cool, fun, high-level athletes that are doing very creative movements where they're rolling across only their traps and only the tops of their shoulders. So again, something like this. And I'm rolling mostly up here, not really coming off of my hip. There's lots of cool, fun ways to do that, and it's not wrong. It's just not what we are currently working on. Ours is a little bit more practical and designed to save you and to keep you a little bit more functioning for a longer period of time as best as possible. So that is a huge and more, I think, specified breakdown on our side-to-side shoulder roll versus our forward, like normal shoulder roll. And so we're gonna do a few workouts to match that now. So we've talked about the differences, and if you guys have had that open space, then you've been able to take your stance, swing your hips and your heels, and practice. So some of us have had a really good opportunity to do those movements. And now if you have, awesome. If you have not, unfortunate the times may be, but we will practice it another day in a bigger space. That's just all there is to it. Now, I'm going to currently get a quick sip of water before I continue on to my next bit of the lesson. So if you guys are thirsty, now's a chance to go get some water as well. All right. I'm back from my water break. You should also be back from your water break. And if you're not, now you have a chance to because I'm still talking. All right. But we're going to get started on our next workout, like I was saying. These workouts are specifically designed for our abdomen and for us to develop some of that strength and familiarity with that sideways movement that we would use in a side-to-side shoulder roll. So we're going to take a seat. Our first workout is going to be a series of bicycle kicks. So if you guys are not familiar with these, we're going to be going into a floating crunch position, and we are going to be pedaling our legs like we're on a bicycle. And one of the things that I want you to add on to this now is this additional elbow drive. So as my left knee comes up, my right elbow will come down. It is something similar to what we use when we do a monkey crawl, how we're doing the opposite appendage moving forward and up. So it's almost like a monkey crawl in that sense. You guys can see that exaggeration when I move my hand. But we're just going to go on ahead and isolate that movement to the elbow and the knees. Nice. Some people like to do it here like this and bring their arms over to the side. That's okay. Like your shadow boxer. All of that's fine and dandy. But I'm really just bringing my elbow to my opposite knee.
Zeke says he'll do 100.
Thanks. That's okay, but we don't need a whole big old number of those. We're actually going to go ahead and give those a stop for a second because we're going to do these as a part of a circuit workout. That means we're going to add another part on. So the first part of that circuit is just those. The second little part of that, we're going to be flipping over, laying flat on our stomach, and then squeezing and doing a scorpion leg lift. So I'm going to squeeze here like that. I'm holding myself planted fairly wide on the floor to keep myself square, not to tip over. And that is our scorpion leg lift. You can keep them together, keep them apart. I'm going to keep mine a slight straddle. And when I lift, I'm squeezing my quad so tight that I cannot let my toe hit the ground. When I squeeze that quad, I add my glute, squeezing the glute. So boom, boom, squeeze one, squeeze two, put those together. Really helps to rocket that heel up into the air. Good, and stop there. You're gonna switch back on over to this back position here for the third part of our circuit. So laying down nice and flat here, I'm going to keep only my shoulders up off the ground, and then I'm gonna tilt and reach towards my pinky toes on either foot, going back and forth. Mindful of my breathing. If you feel like you're slowly walking yourself backwards on accident, reset yourselves, sit yourselves up, pull those feet in, and get back in. Just a few more before we switch. When we switch, we're going to go back to the start of the circuit. Good, and stop there. Go ahead and sit yourselves back up for those bicycle kicks. All right, going ahead and give those a stop. Catch breath for a moment. Lay down flat on your stomach. Take one more nice, big, deep breath. And scorpion leg lifts. Some of you may be thinking, oh my goodness, he's going so fast. That's okay. You don't have to go at my rate. Go at your own. Your own personal pace is a super duper important part of your own personal workout. So, once you guys have done enough of those, think I'm good there. We're going to switch over, finish up our circuit with those side to sides. So, laying back nice and flat, and hands out to the sides, down by our hips, and tilt and shoulders up, tilt and reach. I've accidentally slid, so I'm going to readjust. Don't forget, if you guys need to readjust at home, always make sure you get the most out of your workout by readjusting when you need to. Keep the quality of your workout high, right? So that way you get the most out of it. Good. And just a few more. Rest. All right. Lay out nice and flat. Literally lay out nice and flat. Open for just a moment. Arms out. And press even that little curve of your spine, that natural little curve of your back right here. Try and press that flat into the floor as best as you can. And take 3 very nice deep breaths. If you need to, you can even slightly bend your legs. But our goal is to keep ourselves open. Breathe open as big as we can. In. And out. 2 more times. All right, nice. So, go ahead and stand up, nice and tall, nice and strong. We are almost done. I talked about our side to sides, and this was a series of workouts that was dedicated to our side to side movement for our side to side shoulder roll. The next thing that we are going to go for is actually kind of our dive shoulder roll and our backwards shoulder roll. So, those two can be a little bit more complex, as we don't really have the space or the opportunity to work on a big jumping dive shoulder roll, and maybe we don't have the personal, security in ourselves to do a backward shoulder roll without hurting ourselves or damaging the space. So some of these movements that we're going to do together are really to figure out where and how you should roll through. And again, it is an introductory for your backward shoulder roll, and you guys, in actually practicing the movement and following our tutorials for it, I'm going to list the tutorials at the end of our episode. You guys, in doing that, you will be able to pull off your backward shoulder roll. So I'm going to show you just a few workouts, a few movements that we can do to kind of figure out where we're supposed to go, especially because shoulders going forward into the ground is supernatural. Well, it's normal natural, not supernatural. But our shoulders going into the ground backwards is something that usually scares a lot of people. So one of the first things that you guys are going to need to have is a nice deep squat. At least it's super recommended that you have a nice deep squat for your backwards shoulder roll. And it will help you to be able to do a big, powerful jump for your dive shoulder roll. So all of these workouts are actually going to work for both your dive shoulder roll and your backward shoulder roll, and you guys are going to see that as we go through. So we're going to go ahead and take a squared stance, and we're going to squat pretty deep as we can. Try and keep your heels down while you do so. Keep your balance, keep your heels down. If you can squat all the way down, great. Then come all the way back up. And it's not a really big and explosive squat, because the idea would be here is if I was going backwards, I wouldn't jump backwards into it. I would emphasize I'm setting myself down. So let's go down again. I would be setting myself down to the point nearly where my bottom could hit the floor, and I could distribute some of my impact and some of my weight with this big padded cushioned part of my body. I don't have a whole lot of padding right at the back of my shoulder or on top of it, but everyone's got quite a bit of padding back here, even just a little. And so falling onto your bum can really help to save you when you need to. One of the things that our bodies don't do very well is bend unnaturally the opposite direction. So if I was falling backwards, one of the worst things I could do is reach back with my hand, because then my arm would go the wrong way. And that's how a lot of people break forearms, wrists, and elbows. We're going to go ahead and do just a few more of those deep squats, as deep as we can, and then come back on up. One more together. Nice job. Good. So, backward shoulder rolls can be super tough, and we very more likely than not are going to be falling back onto one leg. So, those squats were just a start. This next one is going to be a pistol squat down. So we're going to be taking ourselves into a small lunge. From our small lunge, we're going to lift our front leg into the air, catch ourselves and balance on our back leg, and then squat ourselves down. A little bit different than a normal pistol squat, but it's in order for us to create some more applicable workout. So I'm here in my slight lunge, going backwards now into my squat down, and I'm actually going to sit all the way down and get used to making contact with the floor, and then stand on up and do it again. So in my lunge, pop back and catch, balance, squat to the point where I can make a soft impact. And that's right, you guessed it, we're doing it on both sides. We're only going to do just a few though. So back into that lunge, pop to catch, squat. Oh man, that one was kind of heavy. When you start feeling like, oh, it's getting a little heavy, then what you're going to have to try to do, I know it's going to be tough, slow down even more. So breathe and reach in front of you with your hands to get your bottom exposed to the floor and to help you maintain your balance. So we're going to pop back up, and now I can come down much softer, maintaining that balance, setting myself more securely down, and again landing on my padded part of my body. I just did a bunch of my left leg, so I'm going to switch to my right. You guys should all do the same. I was right in front for my lunge, kicking up. Now I'm left in front for my lunge and kicking up, squatting down, and sitting as smooth as possible. Getting myself back up, nice and controlled, not trying to stand up out of the pistol, but again emphasizing this is for a backward shoulder roll, so I'm getting used to going backwards and setting down. So I can save myself bottom first. And now I'm not going to reach out here like this with my hands. Again, I'm just trying to land on my bottom and save myself. Adjust as you need to, so you don't bump into your furniture. Nice. Let's do one more together and then move forward. All right. So, now, that's how we get to the floor. That's the first step, getting down. Now that that's kind of been addressed, how do we go over? Backwards, over. Well, it's like forwards, but in reverse. We're going to go from the hip that's first making contact to the opposite shoulder. So if I'm pistol squatting on my right leg, as I'm facing you now, keeping my left leg up, if I'm pistol squatting on my right leg, I'm going to be rolling over my left shoulder backwards like that. So part of that is the kick, that single leg kick. So when I go into a pistol squat, I'm going to come back into a kick. So left leg goes into the air, doing just one more pistol squat on our dominant leg, being the one that kicks the ball, putting that on the floor. We're going to do this one together. Have room to roll backwards on this next bit. We're going to squat down to the point where our bottom hits the floor. So come down here. And now you should be making a little bit of contact on your right side before your left. Then kicking that extended leg over that matching shoulder. So it's my left leg kicking over my left shoulder. And I can pick myself up. We're going to go over just where exactly to roll and how to find where to roll by using a few otherwise slightly unorthodox techniques. It's going to be a good time though. So earlier we did a candlestick in today's mobility. We talked about how you're going to want to get used to that and how that's going to be a present part of today's class. Guess what? That's right, it's time. So we're going to take a seat. I'm going to be sitting with my back to you so I can get into this position to talk to you. I'm going to roll flat onto my back, and just like we did in the previous portion of class, we're going to hold our feet over our head, and yeah, I can move this way just a little bit. We are going to pull our feet over our head and into essentially a pike, using our hands to support ourselves. Nice. So I've got my hands on the back of my hip, and I'm able to kind of push my hip so that my hips are over like the top of my shoulders, my chest, my belly. And I'm not going to let them come out past that spot. Instead, what I'm going to do is bring my toes to the ground on one side and try and touch it by leaning over and off my back. And then I'm going to come back to my back. I'm going to carry my toes back over my head and over to my opposite side. And, oh no, I fell over sideways. Sometimes that's going to happen. This is why we have a nice big open space to practice today. If you fall over, go on ahead and reset yourself. Sit back up and on your shoulders. And candlestick. You can candlestick up. And then let's bring our toes down. And now what happens here when we go to one side, we're going to go to one side and hold it. I'm going to push my toes over there. My head naturally goes to the opposite side. And now we're going to straddle and pike. And we're going to go over to our opposite side. And straddle and pike. And let's roll out. I know that can be really tough. Like I talked about earlier in our side-to-side roll, there's parts of our rolling technique that are going to require us to be up there. That part of our head, neck, and shoulders. That's our traps. That's a lot of really, really vulnerable space. Those muscle groups are not often worked out. So it is a challenge for a lot of people to do what we just did. And to be in there and to be able to talk like I'm trying to tell you guys can even hear the sound of struggle in my voice. It is not exactly a super comfortable spot. So we're going to do our last little bit of our workout. Okay, guys? So what we're going to do is that roll back. And we're going to roll over the more comfortable side together. And I want you guys to practice your non-dominant side on your own. So we're going to roll over our more comfortable side together today. I'm going to go into a nice spot towards the front of my open space. And I'm going to sit on my back and roll into my candlestick and pike. And now I know what my comfortable side is. I'm more comfortable rolling backwards on my left shoulder. So I'm going to pike my toes over towards my left side. That is because it will give my head room on the right side of my body. So I'm going to do this a few times in a few different directions so you guys can see the workout, and I'll have you practice it. I'll do it towards you first. That way you can see how my feet are going to go to one side, and my head will go to the other, and I'll stand up afterwards, or we'll try to anyway. So, from my candlestick up, I pike down, my head goes to one side, my feet, my knees come down, and I can pick myself back up, just like that. Now you guys can see that my head does kind of scrape the side of the floor a little bit. That's going to happen while we're doing this. So at the start of class, I said, get padding. This is not how to do your backward shoulder roll right away. This is how to start learning your backward shoulder roll. So I'm going to do a few more of these and teach you guys a bit more about where to get comfortable and how to get comfortable so that you can then practice your roll in fuller speed on your own. So again, roll rolling into a candlestick, dropping my feet to one side, head to the opposite, hands come off my back, they come under me and push me up off the ground. And I've done a backward shoulder roll nice and slow, just like that. I'm going to do it towards you guys so you guys can see it again. So the candlestick happens. Where my hands go. And how I can push myself back up. How that movement naturally becomes, we get a little bit more comfortable, instead of doing that from a laying down position, we go into a pistol squat to roll 2 legs over to backward shoulder roll. So, guys, that is a lot of information to take in. This is an episode you will probably want to watch again, honestly, just because there's so much. It wasn't even a super hardcore workout episode. It was really just about the parts of our body we roll on, and little tricks that you can use, little things that you can do at home without having to dive into the movement to help you out. There's one last little workout we're going to do. It's one last little one. I know I said that this was for our backwards shoulder roll and our dive shoulder roll, and that's because pushing yourself up out of your backwards roll, we push off the ground, physically push off of it, like so. And for a dive shoulder roll, we physically set ourselves down. Or we dive out. Set ourselves down on the ground and do our roll. So, if you guys have a couch or a chair, anything like that, our only other workout for today before we do our stretches is going to be essentially a overhead dip. We're going to go into this downward dog position, hands on an elevated surface like the couch, and I'm going to curl my chin in and bend my arms and bring, almost like I'm bringing my hands to the back of my head, right? So down here, and just like that. We're going to do just a few of these here. If you want more challenge, put your hands together like a diamond grip push-up. Coach, that's really hard. This is really tough. That's really low. That's okay. Sometimes we can find something that's a little bit taller, up like the arm of the couch or the back of the couch, that we can then push ourselves onto. I even have this right here where I can grab a hold of it, and that diamond grip grab, and I can lean in. Now my hands are up pretty high. And I can practice the act of that push, or that extension, that either is pushing me up off the ground from my backward shoulder roll, or is setting me down on the ground for my dive shoulder roll. So, those are all of our workouts. That's all of our cool fun stuff for today. We are going to get a quick sip of water. Guys, go ahead, get your water now. I'm gonna go get mine. All right. Wow, that was a lot of talking. That was not a lot of working out. If you guys were looking for more working out, you guys should have checked out our stream earlier today. I did a strength and conditioning stream. If you guys didn't know, we're adding on to our streaming lineup. That means that we are going to keep the ones that we have currently. We're adding, additionally, on Fridays from 12 to 1, our strength and conditioning. And tomorrow you'll actually see me for our second episode of Little Heroes at Home. So we added a Little Heroes and a workout dedicated class separation. So you guys check those out. They're going to be really awesome. For our stretches, we're going to start with a few overhead reaches. We're going to go ahead and take one arm up, put it straight up, bring that hand down behind the head, and grab your elbow and pull. Now, there were a few tutorials that I would suggest that you guys watch. That would be 18 and 19, and those kind of cover the start of the class that I was going into, our forward roll and our shoulder roll. So specifically, 18 is going to be your forward roll, and 19 is going to be your shoulder roll. Okay, guys? So check out those. Make sure that you are, if you have not already, following us in an episodic way, because we have addressed those in previous episodes. Those were just a recap today. That's why I kind of sped through those as best as I could. And go ahead and release that arm. Nice. Good. We're going to switch now. Opposite arm reaches up and behind our head. Then we grab a hold of that elbow and we pull. Two of the other skills that we focused on today were, again, shoulder rolls sideways and dive shoulder rolls and backward shoulder rolls. So there's a whole lot of really cool shoulder roll technique that I want you guys to check out. So our sideways shoulder rolls and our backward shoulder rolls actually have their own whole video. You guys can check that tutorial out. That's tutorial number 37. So number 37 is going to be side to side shoulder roll and backwards shoulder roll. So that's a fun one to watch, and it is a really good opportunity to get more information about something I already had to talk a lot about. Go ahead and release that arm. As you guys can tell, some classes are a little bit more workout, and some classes are a little bit more like, here's your skill, and here's the difference. And I'm going to try and clear up some issues that maybe exist in the terminology that people are still figuring out. If you guys have questions, if I speak English, if you guys have questions, now's a great time to start asking them. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and continue with our stretches. So, go ahead and reach across the body now. Try and keep the shoulder down and across the body as we pull in. One of the other tutorials that I want you guys to watch is for your dive shoulder roll. This dive over obstacle or dive on obstacle. That's actually tutorial number 48. So, just go ahead and check those out if you get the chance.
We do have a question.
Very cool.
It says my dad wants to know wants to know if your knee is better from Ronin.
Oh, wow, yeah. Opposite grab. Oh my goodness. Oh, what a shock. So, okay, quick backstory. Yes, my knee is getting better. Which knee, you may ask? Both of them is the answer. Thank you, Summer, for the additional commentary. So hopefully you guys switch grips and are sticking in. Our question was, has my knee gotten better? And it's from Ronan. Ronan's one of our really cool previous students who's looking at coming back, and the family went on a very awesome trip because, they're great people and doing great things in a great part of the world. That's about as much as I'll disclose about a family without their permission. Aside from that, great family, love the people, I love them a lot, and yes, I appreciate your concern. I've been the coach for that family for a very long time, so when I ask stuff like this, it warms my heart, because we got a special place in it. I am feeling better. My knees are doing great. I'm releasing my arm stretch now, guys, good. I've got just a few more months of additional strengthening before I should be getting back into my actual training, so that's a good thing. We're going to move into our lower torso stretches. We did do quite a few twisty movements, but we're going to take a seat and do some more stretches now. We're going to start with our Hollywood stretch. We're going to cross one leg up and over the other, and that's my left. I'm twisting over my body, so I'm going to reach my right arm out and across it. So big push there, and try and look the direction that you're pushing. Don't forget to breathe. And again, I've said it a bunch of times, but keep breathing the whole time that you guys are here. Keep breathing. Nice, good. If we have any other questions, that'd be a great time to ask. Aside from that, if you guys are catching us late, said it in previous streams, let's switch to our opposite side. But if you guys are watching the stream but you're not watching it live, then you guys can leave your question in the comments. One of the things that we are currently doing is updating all of our descriptions on our videos to include a bit of additional information so that if you wanted to watch a specific episode, get a specific workout, or some of the actual terminology that I used to make sure that you clearly understood what was saying, that would be an opportunity for you guys to capitalize on. We are going to be, again, updating our descriptions to include a little bit more information. Unfortunately, when we first released the video, there's only a little bit that we can add as far as like our subject tags, and so we are just going through the movements and making sure that it's accurate information that we're giving to all of you. Good. Going ahead and release from that stretch. Nice. What a pleasant time. We're going to do just a few more stretches. We're going to go actually into our butterfly. If you guys have any other questions, this is one of our last stretches. Now is one of your last chances. We'll go into that butterfly, flap those legs out. If you guys are at home doing a lot of these workouts, taking pictures and videos, it is an awesome way to show us that you guys are supporting the stream and are really getting down on what we do. We do accept donations, as you guys saw in some of our standby screens today. And that being said,
I didn't have the donations on there.
No, you didn't?
No.
What? I misread that.
It's for people
I'm
to
an old man.
tag
No.
us.
Whoa! No, guys, we do accept donations. If you guys are interested in donating, we accept them on PayPal. So that's Firestorm Freerunning at Gmail on PayPal. So that being said, I made a mistake, but I fixed it. There we go. All right, we're gonna go from our butterfly into our, that's right, you guessed it, bridge stretch. So lay flat on your back, put those feet and knees together, and get your hands up and over your shoulders. And now here's coming to your last chances for those questions. If you got them, go ahead and ask them. Lift up. Adjust and hold. And set yourself down slow. Tuck and roll. And don't forget, guys, there's a bunch of other times that you can check us out. We are streaming all the time, releasing new content on every day except Sundays, because even we need a day to rest. So we are going to see you guys a little bit later on tonight for tricking. If you guys have any other parkour class questions, go ahead and fire them away.
Ronan just said, oh man, I forgot about that part. I think he meant the bridge.
Oh yeah. Yeah, bridge is a good stretch. And it's important to do at the end of every lesson or almost every lesson, depending on what you work on. So guys, thank you for viewing. We really appreciate you guys and all of your feedback. We look forward to seeing you guys in our streams on another streaming time. We stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Each one of those days we have a 3 to 4 stream time, but specifically on Fridays we have additional streams. We have a 12 to 1 for strength and conditioning, and again a 6 to 7 for our tricking. So check us out. We are going to be doing that later on tonight. You guys, we'll see you tomorrow as well for Acroflex with Summer and Little Heroes after that. So for those of you that are families that have got little tiny toddlers, if you want to get some stretches in for yourself and then get your kids a little workout in the post game, it's going to be a good opportunity to capitalize on that. Boom. Thanks guys. We'll see you soon.